Okay, we are live. And this week, the question of the week is actually going to be the topic of the live. Uh, I get questions, because I'll say things like everything in the physical world is a manifestation of spirit, or all physical matter is spirit manifesting as that matter, those kinds of things. And people ask about that. They don't always understand it. And last week it came up during the live, and I promised that we would at least begin the discussion of conscious matter. So that is the topic of the week. That's what we'll be discussing tonight is conscious matter. But before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. Conscious shifting and all known side effects are beneficial and will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while creating the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams, and influencing the world in a positive way. So if those things appeal to you, go ahead and follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube, and then you can either watch the replay or join us live here Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. All right, and with that, hello, I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting. Everybody take a deep breath way down to that lower energy center just below the belly button, and exhale. And again, inhale, big deep breath, inhale the peace, and exhale all toxic energy. One more time, big deep breath, inhale peace, and exhale tension. All right, so let's see who we have in here so far. I see Cheryl, love, laugh, and be happy in the house. And I see Kim, and welcome everybody else. So tonight's topic is conscious matter. Have you ever wondered what it means to be conscious, or wondered exactly what consciousness is? You probably assume that you're conscious, but wouldn't you like to know why and exactly what it is? And the fact that we can have this discussion means that you are, in fact, conscious, or at least that you have consciousness, and therefore you're somewhat conscious, because there's many different levels of consciousness that the physical mind body is capable of. And yet, consciousness in and of itself is not physical. So, what is consciousness and how does it interact with the physical world? Hi, Tina. Hi, Ray. Hi, Sue. Hoping you are all feeling energized. Much love, Sue. Well, I've got a pounding headache, but other than that, I'm doing great. Sue's University Life in the house, always positive. All right, so I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody here. Hey, Richard. Okay, I think I got everybody. All right, so for starters, physical matter is not solid, as you may believe. Physical matter is made up of molecules, and molecules are made up of atoms, and atoms are made up of energy. If you could crack open an atom, all that you would see in there is energy. There's no physical matter. Therefore, all physical matter is actually energy. So everything, despite what your senses tell you, is nothing more than energy. Furthermore, atoms have a nucleus made up of protons and neutrons, and those are orbited by electrons. And various combinations of protons, neutrons, and electrons determine the energy of molecules, or in other words, the type of matter being manifested. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Tracy. So, and Kathy, I see, is joining us on YouTube. So, if you guys are wondering, that little orange uh, button with the arrow on it is YouTube, and for YouTubers, the round blue circle with the F in it is Facebook. All right. So, um, just as a musical instrument can express different notes or frequencies, atoms vibrate at different frequencies. And these different frequencies, as well as the way they interact with each other, create the physical universe and everything in it. In other words, our universe is very much a cosmic symphony. That's one way of looking at it. Furthermore, although your mind body appears to be physical, it's actually made up of vibrating energy as well. Humans are made of cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of atoms, which are made of particles. And those particles are also known as protons, neutrons, and electrons, which are actually just vibrating energy. And so your physical form or your mind body is really a collective of vibrating energy. In fact, scientists estimate that the average human has about 1 trillion cells all working in harmony to make the body function properly. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? 1 trillion? 1 trillion cells. And you know that there's more space in between. When you start talking about the atomic level of things, there's actually more space in between the stuff than there is actual stuff. But once you combine these particles into atoms and atoms into molecules and molecules into cells, the human body is made up of about 1 trillion cells. And a single human cell, on average, human single cell, has about 1 trillion atoms. So it takes 1 trillion atoms, more or less, to make up the human cell, and about 1 trillion cells to make up the human body. And it's mostly space. Just like when you look up at the stars at night and you see the stars up there, but there's a lot of space in between them. There's more space than there are stars. Well, it's like that on the atomic level as well. Make sure I don't have any questions here. Hi, Gloria. It is amazing, Susan. It is truly amazing. It's mind boggling. So, in other words, then everything, including humans, everything in the known universe, the physical universe and everything in it is actually created by the behavior of energy, is another way of looking at it. But what determines the behavior of energy? Because it's doing stuff, right? Energy is not stagnant. If it is, it's a problem. Energy is typically moving, and healthy energy is moving in a balanced state. So, what is determining that movement of energy? Well, as if that's not enough, here's something else fascinating for you to think about. Every thought and every emotion have their own wave. Now, vibration back and forth, or vibration is movement back and forth, and frequency is the number of times per second that there's this back and forth movement. More simply stated, is wave frequency. So when we're talking about energy, it actually behaves in waves. And one way of looking at the behavior of these waves is the frequency. And you know what else? Energy waves carry information. I know. It just gets stranger and stranger. Yes, our thoughts and our emotions are energy waves, but and they each have their own wave. And all energy waves carry information. Therefore, energy carries information into an atom. And then the collective energy and information in a group of atoms creates the molecule. Next, the collective energy and information of a group of molecules creates various states of matter, earth, water, and air, for example. Now, some molecules create cells, and the collective energy and information of cells creates flesh and bone. The collective energy and information of flesh and bone creates life forms. Life forms that are expressing various levels of consciousness. So, this consciousness expresses itself through various thoughts, emotions, and actions. Pretty interesting, right? Pretty deep. Exactly. Thoughts become things, and that's how we can feel each other because there's this information carried. Sometimes people will say, oh, they've got a good vibe or they've got a bad vibe. You can be in a room full of people and somebody can walk in with an extremely bad vibe and the whole room goes south because that information is being carried by their thoughts and emotions and projected out into the room and picked up by other people. So there's always this exchange of information going on. The opposite's true. Somebody with a very high vibe can walk into a room and all of a sudden everybody gets in a better mood. So these are real life examples of how this information exists and is passed on, or there's a mingling of energy. Energy interacts with energy. So somebody putting off a vibe, that's their energy, and you're picking up on it is your energy, and there's a mingling of those two energies. And that's how we feel each other. Tracy's asking, is it true it's a wave until we look at it? Actually, this is a very strange phenomenon. When you get into cutting edge quantum physics and they try to do experiments where they observe the behavior of energy, they've noticed some strange things. That the wave, there's this back and forth movement, or the way it looks on a screen is like this. It looks like this up and down squiggly line. That's a wave. So one cycle completely up and down is one cycle. And then however many cycles there are per second is the frequency. So they've tried studying this stuff, and so they're watching, and they've done experiments. Maybe some night I'll try and explain it. I'll make some props or something and try and explain this visually because it's pretty abstract. But what they've noticed is that when they try to observe energy, the fact that they're observing it, the wave crashes and it becomes particle. Particle is the way they describe solid matter. They say that energy exists in both a particle form and a wave form simultaneously. Now, the weird thing is that on this cycle, we say that electrons orbit the nucleus. So you've got protons and neutrons that make up the nucleus of an atom, and then you've got these electrons that orbit around it, very similar to the planets orbiting around the sun, but not quite, because the planets orbiting around the sun are very ordered. And you can predict where a planet's going to be in its orbit. Once you understand the speed that it moves, its mass, all this kind of stuff, you can do mathematical equations, the known information of the universe, and you can predict where that planet's going to be in that orbit. You can't do that with electrons orbiting around atoms. You don't know where the electron's going to be until you observe it. And then it is wherever it is until you stop observing it. And then it goes back into the wave or back into the orbit around the atom. So this is very peculiar behavior. In other words, what they're discovering is that consciousness and observation of energy determines how that energy manifests. You can't have one without the other. They're interrelated, which is kind of what we're talking about tonight: conscious matter and how consciousness interacts with our physical reality. But this is really getting to the heart of it in more scientific terms than I was going to get into. But since you ask, awesome, Shelby, heavy, yeah, or hey, yeah, it is. But whoa, right? And that is how we misperceive as well. Kim's right, because we don't necessarily interpret all this stuff accurately. And there's lots of reasons for that. You know, our emotions tend to get in the way. We have what we think is the way things work and what we think we know. And that's not necessarily accurate. And so it interferes with our perception of reality. Uh, Hi, Sherry. Tina, kind of off track question. If we are energy, does our loved ones who have passed see our energy, not our physical? Um, more or less, yes. More or less, yes. It's we're energetic beings, and so um, uh, we come here and we temporarily inhabit. I'll get into this in just a minute here, but we temporarily inhabit these physical forms. But in reality, it's energy. Now, when we inhabit these physical forms, we perceive reality through the senses. That's what gives the illusion everything that we consider reality. And that's exactly why it's an illusion, because it's not what we think we don't actually see or hear anything. It's just that our we don't touch anything. As weird as this sounds, the reason is because the body has senses. And so what the senses do, like your eyesight, for example, let's just pick one. Your eyesight. Most people are very visual, you know. What is actually happening is your eyes are perceiving energy out there. They perceive a very small part of the light energy spectrum. Light is a type of energy. So there's a small portion of that that the eyes are capable of perceiving. That light then goes into the eyeball and hits the back of the eyeball where there's some receptors. And those receptors get excited when energy comes into contact with them. And they convert that into an electronic signal that goes up the optic nerve into your brain. Your brain perceives that electric signal that the back of the eyeball is sending to it and tries to make sense of it. So it creates a visual image of what it thinks that energy means. And we project that out onto the universe as if we're seeing the universe, when in reality, we're not seeing anything. It's all in our mind. Hence the illusion. So, to get back to your question, once we pass on and we leave the physical body, we don't have those senses anymore. So, we don't perceive anything physical. It doesn't exist. It never really did. But we're no longer, the veil is lifted. We're no longer under the illusion that all this physical stuff is, in fact, reality. So, spirit only recognizes other spirit. And it will recognize the energy, your life force, but not your physical body. And so when I say that, you know, one way you can tell if you're operating from a spiritual perspective or from an ego perspective is when you make judgments, uh, politics, sex, sexual orientation, your political affiliation, right, wrong, left, right, all this stuff. As soon as you start making judgments, you're in your ego. Spirit doesn't recognize any of that. It doesn't exist. Those are all judgments of the ego. If you don't have a physical mind body, then you don't have an ego. You don't have the senses to perceive all the stuff and make those judgments about it. So it doesn't exist. We make that up. It's an illusion. So, in other words, spirit doesn't judge creation, it experiences creation. Only humans judge creation. So, I hope that I hope I hope that answers your question, but that was a deep question. Um, okay. And so that wasn't really off topic at all. Gloria, if everything is an illusion, then why do we have to pay bills? Because while you're in the illusion, you got to play the game of life. It's kind of like, think of it this way: if you're in a dream, if you're dreaming, you're asleep and you're dreaming. Again, the mind is trying to make sense and hash out all this subconscious, conscious stuff, and it does it through images because that's how we make sense of things. And so whatever that's your dreams, these images. So whatever happens in the dream seems as real as anything else does when you're awake. So while you're in the dream, whatever happens in the dream has consequences. It's kind of the same thing once you wake up because you're still more or less in a dream state. You're still operating within the illusion. And so things that happen in the illusion seem very real and have consequences. I can explain to you about molecules and all the space in between them. But that doesn't mean if you stand on the train tracks in front of a speeding locomotive that you're not going to get wiped out. So there are consequences to the illusion while you're in the illusion, but ultimately it doesn't change a thing because it doesn't affect spirit at all. So that it's a little weird, but that's how it is. Kim says, I believe they only see the love. And that's a great way. Unconditional love is a great way of describing the state that spirit exists in. Because if you remove the mind body and all of the things that come through the senses, and you remove all of the judgments that we make from an ego's point of view, the only thing that's left is what you would probably describe as unconditional love. So that's all they know. That's all they see. That's all they understand. Nothing else makes any sense because it's all just human stuff. It's not real. So spirit doesn't, it doesn't register with spirit. We like to, one of the problems with man's religion is that we project human qualities onto spirit. But that's not how spirit is. It's has none of that. You could say that we were created in the image of God, or but on a spiritual level, that's true. God doesn't have a mind body. Spirit doesn't roll around in a Porsche or being gay or straight or black or white or anything else. It's just that's human stuff. So you always have to kind of be aware of the two. Yes, you are temporarily in the human condition, which means that you are temporarily inhabiting a mind body, and you're temporarily in this dimension of time and space, but none of it's real. It's like a sub reality of a much bigger reality. Glory, if everything is an illusion. Okay, now, all right, that one we got. That's where we started that that deep conversation. No, Shelby, I don't know of any. I don't remember any virus that we've had before that just knocked out your sense of smell and taste. And apparently, COVID does that to a lot of people. You're welcome, Tina. You like that, Sue? She says, seeing the illusion that people live their lives in continues to surprise me. Let's just be kind to ourselves and each other. Unconditional love is our true essence and our birthright. Exactly. Very well said. Very well said. So then what you could say is that, you have all of this collective energy and information starting with energy and then moving on to atoms and then collectively creating molecules and then collectively creating cells, which collectively create flesh and bone, and a bunch of flesh and bone and organs and stuff make up a human body. But then that human body is capable of expressing consciousness. So you have this energy and this information that's making up the physical world, but at the end of the organisms, the human animal shell structure, whatever you want to call it, the body and the mind body, there is within that a possibility of projecting higher consciousness into the physical reality. So what you could say is that consciousness creates flesh and bone, and higher states of consciousness are expressed through flesh and bone. And the collective thoughts, emotions, and actions of these higher states of consciousness carry energy and information, resulting in the creation of our physical reality. Now, that's a pretty heavy paragraph. It's not long, but it's very, very, very deep. The thing is that it's obvious that the universe is intelligently directed, right? I mean, we can't really argue about that. There's order rather than chaos. And understanding that energy waves carry information gets us closer to understanding this directing intelligence that's causing the order. But what is that intelligent directing force? Since there was no physical matter before the creation of the universe, then the answer must be non-physical, right? I mean, it couldn't be anything else. So what would you call non-physical energy creating the universe and carrying information into the universe, which then directs the behavior of energy in the universe, right? I mean, what would you call that? A creative force? Yeah, sure, but then what's behind the creative force? You see, it starts getting real deep real fast. And the answer is consciousness. But not just any consciousness. Supreme consciousness or spirit is the source of all things. In its purest state, consciousness is God. And you are part of that. That's pretty heavy, right? Pretty heavy indeed. Mind-boggling. God, yes. So the mind body is a vehicle for spirit while in the physical world, but the mind body is also spirit manifesting as flesh and bone. It's both at the same time. And this is this is what you need to understand to differentiate between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. Because again, the entire universe and everything in it is spirit manifesting as matter. But you're capable of spiritual consciousness. In other words, you're actually, in essence, a non-physical entity or spirit, whether you realize it or not. But you're also conscious energy manifesting as physical matter. consciousness is causing atoms to form, and atoms are the building blocks of all physical matter. So, in other words, conscious energy causes atoms to form, and the collective consciousness of a group of atoms causes molecules to form. Continuing, then, the collective consciousness of groups of molecules form matter, all matter, including life forms. However, matter is an expression of consciousness, whereas conscious life forms express consciousness. You see the difference? So, on the one hand, matter is an expression of consciousness, spirit manifesting as, as physical matter. But then life forms are capable, especially, human life forms are capable of expressing consciousness. You have one as an expression of consciousness for the explicit purpose of expressing even higher consciousness. So, unlike simpler beasts, humans have the potential to fully express spirit. In fact, the collective consciousness of humans creates physical reality, whether we're spiritually conscious or not. And that right there sums a lot up about what's going on right now. The part about whether we're spiritually conscious or not. Because we are higher consciousness, we have, we are part of the creative potential. We hold the power of creation. Our thoughts manifest into reality. Whether we're spiritually conscious or not, we're creating this reality. So the fact that the vast majority of people are not spiritually conscious explains everything, does it not? Because collectively we're creating this reality, and if collectively the majority of us are not spiritually conscious, it's no wonder that the world is the way it is. With your descent into matter, your body was manifested as an expression of your soul in flesh and bone. You have the ability to express your spiritual essence or soul through your mind, body, and into this world. That's why you came here. So on the one hand, you're manifesting this body. It's a physical expression of flesh and bone, but it's an expression of your soul. But the reason you did that was so that you could express your spiritual essence through your flesh and bone into this world. And that is why you came here. I see some questions flying by. Tina, if the universe is filled with energy, there is a likelihood of other planets. Do you think aliens abduct or interact with a human could be that person's energy they are attracted to? Hi, Tammy. How you doing? Yeah, I would say so. They're I would like to think of them as advanced beings, and I think some of them surely are. And so they're able to understand various levels of consciousness. There is some conversations I'd love to have with some advanced beings. I really would, just to figure out where they're at and how they see all this. But it's entirely possible that, look at mankind. We've evolved technologically quite a bit. We're no longer living in caves and beating each other up with clubs. Now we've got McMansions, and we sit at a computer console and we can lob nuclear bombs back and forth and just turn a city 1,000,000 degrees Fahrenheit in less than a second. So we've advanced quite a bit, but not spiritually. You would like to think that with technological advancement, evolution, that spiritual evolution would go along with it, but that's not necessarily the case. So you could have different races of alien beings out there, and some of them not so nice, you know. Um, but I'd like to have conversations with any that have really advanced spiritually. That would be cool. And yes, I'm sure that those, maybe not all, but those aliens would be able to um, recognize various levels of consciousness or energy, and that may be an attraction for them. Um, in fact, I've sometimes wondered if there might even be how mankind wants to travel into space and see if there's life out there and what that life would consist of. Well, maybe there's alien races doing the same thing. Maybe they're looking to us for the answers. That could be too. um Time will tell on this stuff. you know hey, David. Shelby says heart and mind being in harmony, heart number one, mind following, not battling. Yes, yes, indeed. All right, so here you are. You're a trillion cells, or somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 octrillion atoms, all vibrating at a frequency, which is your mind body, your vibe. That's right, you're doing this because and you continue to do this each and every moment. If you didn't, your mind body would simply cease to exist. You follow that one? So, on the one hand, yes, you have the potential to express your spiritual essence, really, while you're here. But at the same time, you're expressing your soul as flesh and bone to give you a means of expressing yourself spiritually in this physical realm. And if you stop to do that, you'd cease to exist. So you're doing it moment to moment to moment. You may not be conscious of it, but you are. And we'll talk about this at another time because this gets into energy healing. Think about what I just said. From moment to moment to moment, you're manifesting this body, this mind body of yours. And so that opens the door to a lot of healing techniques, which we'll get into another night. But we could continue this because all of us collectively are manifesting this universe and everything in it in each and every moment. And if we didn't, including the aliens, and if we didn't, it would cease to exist. And the purpose of all of this is to express higher consciousness or spirit. It's the only reason for doing this. And we mess that all up with our emotional wounds and our concepts of time and space and all this. But that's the only reason for doing this is, to provide a means of expressing consciousness. So this, in other words, consciousness exists in this non-physical realm. Well, if you want to express that, you have to go from that to something else to do it, right? There has to be a means of expression, and that's what this physical realm is. So there's this expansion of consciousness for the expression of consciousness. That your purpose here, the reason you came, is to spiritually awaken when you get right down to it, to self-realize, to express your highest form while in human form, otherwise known as spiritual consciousness. And by the way, spiritual consciousness is what makes somebody a spiritual master. So Tracy says, time travelers, I think it's future us. You never know. You never know. With extreme advancements in technology, it may become a technological reality to bend space-time. We know that happens in the universe. Gravity, this kind of stuff, light, it bends. And so you can kind of bend the space time. In other words, if you were to travel, like this whole distance here, that would take however many light years to do it. But if you could bend this space time over on itself, so it's kind of like a big U, you know, then you could travel from this point to this point. So instead of traveling down this straight line, you bend it over itself and you travel from here to here. You get that? That could be like some sort of time traveling reality, because you would be bending space time. So that may be some other dimensional thing that we're capable of doing at some point. And, you know, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? To be able to go back in time and watch events happen. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But to wrap this up, because I want to do uh not so much a healing circle tonight. I'm going to give you something else that you can use that you're going to find interesting, that will help you unlock your innate knowledge, that'll help you understand this stuff, and even more on deeper levels. Uh, but to wrap this up, so then what happens to atoms after death? After we come here, we live, we die, right? What happens? Our bodies don't turn to nothing. That's also part of the illusion, because think about what our bodies are. They're energy, right? So, and there are different kinds of energy, all making up this organism that we call the mind body. There's the energy that's manifesting as flesh and bone, and then there's the energy that's being expressed through the flesh and bone, otherwise known as our soul or our spiritual essence. So all of this physical form, you know, is made of energy, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred from one state to another. So consequently, upon death, higher consciousness, our soul, I point here because typically we consider, it's not absolute, but we consider that to be higher consciousness. I'm not referring to the brain, by the way. I'm referring to levels of consciousness. So upon death, higher consciousness leaves. It's just the brain really helps. The brain and the central nervous system really help to express consciousness. The energy moves through them and out into this world. And since the brain sits at the top of the central nervous system, that's why we tend to think of higher consciousness as being up here. But upon death, higher consciousness leaves the body. You know, and without higher consciousness, that's what's organizing the energy that manifests as your soul and flesh and bone. So upon death, higher consciousness leaves the body, and then the body breaks down into the 7 octrillion atoms that all were assembled by your consciousness to create the mind body in the first place. But without the higher consciousness animating this, then the body just dissolves into these trillions upon trillions of atoms, and they go into the cosmic recycling program and get manifested as something else somewhere else. But higher consciousness carries on. Your soul is immortal. It's part of the eternal great spirit. You exist beyond time and space. Like we said in the very beginning of this conversation, what's doing all this had to exist before all this. We know that life, there's birth and death. We know that the universe has a birth and probably a death. So whatever's doing this had to exist before the birth of the universe. Well, before the physical universe, all there was then was non-physicality, spirit, and consciousness is part of that. So you exist beyond time and space, meaning that you're eternal. Consciousness never had a birth, so it can't have a death. It just is what it is. You can think of it as conscious energy. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. I mean, consciousness is actually something else and it utilizes energy, but you can think of it that way. And in a sense, it's true. Spirit is conscious energy. But the universe then is an expression of consciousness. And then there's this higher consciousness being expressed in the universe. You can call it conscious matter. However, ultimately, you are pure consciousness. And awakening is realizing that pure state. In other words, dropping all that you are not, and then what's left is your essence. But here, that involves time and space because that's the sub-reality that we find ourselves in, the human condition. So that's where I'm going to stop with this conversation on conscious matter. We'll come at it from different angles on other nights, but I want to do something with you, not so much of a healing circle, not so much of a meditation, but something a little bit different. So tonight we're going to work on an exercise that you can do before meditation to help raise your consciousness and your energy field. Because that's really what it's all about, right? Spiritual awakening, self-realization. So for those of you that haven't done this before, let's start by breaking it down a little bit, because you may not know exactly what or why I do sometimes when I start the healing circles, or even what I do in them. You probably notice that they all have something to do with the topic to kind of help you experience the conversation, rise into the reality of it. But this is something that you can do before you meditate. And if you do, it will help you rise in consciousness. And of course, when you do that, your energy field is going to rise as well. So first is the breath. Let me make sure there's no questions here. Okay. So first is the breath. It's a great way to start meditations. And frankly, you want to learn how to breathe this way, even when you're not in meditation, because it will dramatically improve your health and your stress levels. But you breathe through the nose, unless your nose is broken or you got a bad cold or something. You breathe through the nose down to your lower energy center, which is just below the belly button. And you do it in a way as if you're filling up a balloon in your stomach. And then you exhale back out through your nose. Now, nothing's forced. We never force anything in meditation. We never expect anything in meditation. We just observe normally. Now, so you're just breathing in and out through your nose, filling and then deflating your lower abdomen. That's in a simple way, lower abdominal breathing, which is healthy. We'll talk about that some night. Millions of different ways. So just try that a few times, and then we'll add a few things on here to get to the actual exercise. So breathe in through the nose, all the way down to your belly button or thereabouts, as if you're inflating a balloon in your stomach, and then contract that balloon or deflate that balloon and exhale back out through your nose. Again, nice deep breath in, and then just exhale back out. So in the process of doing this, your tummy's expanding and contracting, maybe your love handles, maybe your lower back. You'll see, if you get really good at this, you'll see a little bit of movement there, but not much anywhere else. Your shoulders shouldn't be going up and down, your neck getting tense, or your chest up and down. That's not lower abdominal breathing. That's hypertension. So hyperventilating is what that is, which causes hypertension. But one of the causes of it. So it's this lower abdominal breathing. That's what you want to do. Breathe in through the nose, down to the lower energy center, and then exhale back out through the nose. And what you'll find in meditation is that it will start to slow down and just let it, not force it to do anything. But as you start doing this, it'll get easier and easier and start slowing down. Don't worry. You're not going to, die or anything. You're just breathing far more efficiently. And you're using less energy to do what you're doing, which requires less excited body parts and all this kind of stuff. So that's the breathing part of it. Then set that aside for just a moment. Now think about the other part of this equation, and you'll see why in a little bit why we do it. This pull up, tensing your groin muscles as if you're trying to stop both urine flow and farting, for example. That you were trying to just stop that, midstream, both of them. You would tense up, not up here. You see me, as soon as I say tense up, I start tensing up, but you tense up your groin muscles, kind of lifting them up or tensing them up, like you're cutting off urination or farting. And then just relax. And then tense those muscles again without moving anything else. And then relax. And then tense up those muscles again. Only this time start to involve your lower abdominal and your lower back muscles in the tensing. So even though you're breathing in and you're expanding your stomach muscles, just sort of tense those muscles and your lower back muscles and your groin muscles, and then relax. And do that again. Tense all that up. You're getting the feel for it, and then relax. Okay, now, again, tense up your groin muscles, your lower abdominal and back muscles, but now include your upper abdominal and back muscles in this. So you're tensing this, the whole lower part of your torso, and then relax. And then tense up. And now, as you're doing that, as you're tensing your groin, your lower abdominal and back, your upper abdominal and back, as if you're putting pressure on your energy and pushing it up your spinal cord all the way up to the very top of your skull. And hold it. And then relax. Now tense your groin and your abdominal and back muscles, putting pressure on your energy and pushing it up the spine, all the way up to the crown. And then relax. And one more time, tense your groin, your abdominal and your back muscles, putting pressure on your life force, pushing it up the spine, all the way up to your crown, and hold it. And then relax. Now, you might start to feel something here. If you do, just take note of it. Don't trip on it. But there's things are possible when you start doing this. And I'm not going to tell you what they are. You'll experience it for yourself. But now let's put all this together into one exercise. So, you want to do this again before you actually start meditating. But this is going to help with higher consciousness and with increasing your energy field. Just trust me on this. I know this is kind of weird if you've never done this before, or if you've never done it to the point to where you start experiencing some of these things. But for meditation, you want to get into a comfortable upright position because you want to remain alert. You don't want to be over tense, just a comfortable upright position, not kicking way back in a lazy boy like this where you're going to fall asleep. Or, you want your spine erect. And again, not overdoing it. Nothing forced, no tension, but just erect. so that the energy can flow easily up and down. Now, begin breathing through your nose down to your lower energy center, just below your belly button, as if you're filling up a balloon in your stomach. And then exhale back out through your nose. Nothing forced, right? So there's the breathing. Now just breathe in and out through your nose, first filling, and then deflating your lower abdomen. And then next, as you inhale, expand your consciousness by breathing in consciousness from all around your body, through your body, through your central nervous system, and into the base of your spine. And then as you're contracting these muscles, continue with the inhalation, but use these muscles to push the energy up your spine all the way to the top of your skull, to your crown, and then hold it there. And then relax and exhale, allowing your energy to now flow down the front of your spine to the base of your spine, out your central nervous system, and out beyond your body. So you see what's happening here. Even though you're breathing through your nose down to your energy center and back out, you're breathing energy in from all around you through your nervous system into the base of your spine. And then with that contraction, that's to focus on bringing that energy up the spine into the crown, and then hold it there. And then as you relax, exhale. So there's just a little bit of a pause. That you relax, you exhale, allow that energy to flow down the front of your spine, out the nervous system, and out beyond your body as you're exhaling the breath out your nose. So this is a little bit weird to get used to. And you're not going to be doing this, during your meditation. You're going to do this before your meditation. Whatever you do, 5-10 times you do this. Okay. So let's do it a few more times. Make sure that you have the hang of this. So you breathe in through your nose. And you can close your eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes if you want, because that's what you're going to be doing in meditation. Gently close your eyes and your mouth. Breathe in through the nose, down to that lower energy center. And as you do, draw consciousness in through your body, through your nervous system, into the base of your spine. Contract your groin and your abdominal and back muscles, pushing that energy up your spine all the way to your crown, and then hold it. And then as you exhale, let the energy flow down the front of your spine, out your nervous system, out your body, out into the areas around you. And then again, you inhale, and as you do, breathe consciousness and energy in through your body, into your central nervous system, into your nervous system, into your central nervous system, into the base of your spine, up your spine, into your crown. And then as you relax, let it flow down the front of your spine, out your nervous system, out your body, and out into the area around you. And one more time. So we breathe in, we pull consciousness and energy in through the body, through the nervous system, into the base of the spine, up the back of the spine, as we contract the groin, the abdominal, and the back muscles, pushing it with a little bit of force up the spine into the crown. Hold it, and then relax, letting the energy flow down the front of the spine, all the way down to the base and out the nervous system, out the body, out around you. So that's the exercise. And you do this before you meditate. Some of you may already be having sensations. Some of you, when you do this privately and you really get the hang of it and you're starting to kind of flow with it, some things, and I'd be interested in hearing about that. But what you want to do is just continue with the steady, even flow in and out, expanding further with each breath. So your consciousness is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're pulling more in, but you're moving it through your body. So you're breathing in consciousness from all around you, through your body, through your nervous system, up your spine. You're using the tensing to help push that energy up. and then hold, and then exhale, allowing it to flow down out your nervous system and then back out beyond your body. Now, this exercise seems somewhat forceful, which is why you don't do it during meditation. One reason why, because, and the other thing is then you're going to be focusing on this and not on just observing what sensations are going on. But I'll tell you this, as you get used to it and you develop the skill, it requires less effort. You just start doing it like anything else that you do. You don't think much about walking, you just do it, right? This will kind of be the same way, but still use it before meditation. And then when you begin the actual meditation, continue with the breathing. You do the breathing the same way, but without the muscle tension. Instead, just subtly allowing the energy to flow up to the crown and back down the spine and absorbing energy and consciousness in and out of your body. So there's like this wave, if you will, that you're aligning yourself with. And what you're really doing is aligning yourself with higher consciousness while balancing your energy and gently cleansing your body of toxic energy. So that's where we'll leave this tonight. But that's the purpose of this exercise. It will really augment your meditation. And I'm really curious to hear from any of you and what changes for you. All right, let's see if we have any last minute questions before we call it a night. That's where we were. Okay. Kim says it seems like a type of liver flush. There are exercises in yoga that do this as well. Yes, and the whole pulling there's an old Hindu, and you see it in some forms of yoga where they work with the energy up and down the spine, and they'll get into how it cleanses and clears the chakra system. I explain things a little bit differently, but it is the same kind of a deal. You're working with balancing energy. You're working with bringing in higher energies. Remember that higher states of consciousness have a higher energy to them. So the information that you're bringing in, the vibe that you're pulling off of that, is going to be of a higher nature. And what's that going to do to your health? It's going to balance and cleanse your system. That's what it's going to do. It's going to clear the toxic energy. So this is very serious stuff, although you don't have to know all the details about it. That's why a lot of times I just explain simple little exercises that you can do or little ideas to keep in mind when you're meditating, and it'll just happen for you. You won't have to do anything. You'll just start noticing changes in your life, and for the better, in your physical, mental, and spiritual health. Susan says, felt a little lightheaded, and that can happen. And it's all right. Just let it be. You'll experience some other things along with that. I'm just warning you, but it's all good. It's just not probably what you're used to. But as you clear some of this toxic energy and you clear some of these energy blocks, what you're doing is you're opening your body up and things are starting to flow. And when that happens, your health physically and mentally is going to improve, and you're going to come into contact with higher levels of consciousness. You're going to connect more with your spiritual essence, which means that you're going to identify less with your physical, which means that a lot of the things that are being caused from that identification or the ego are going to go away. A lot of the ill health, because that's what's causing it. So there's a lot about this. Just do it and do it for a little while, and then you tell me. But you will notice the difference. If you do this, even 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, do the little exercise a few times and then meditate for 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20, 30 if you can, but even 5, 10, 15 minutes, just do it every day. And in a few weeks or a few months, you'll be preaching to me. And I've never, in all the years I've been sharing this with people, I have never had one person put this into practice and not have absolutely amazing results. Not one person. The only way this doesn't work is if you don't work it, you don't do it. You know, you're not going to benefit from something that, even if it's good for you, if you don't do it. Sue says that works very well for me. So freeing, almost like inner teamwork. Exactly. Exactly. Everything's becoming balanced. Susan, wow, that is amazing and much more relaxed. You're welcome. You're welcome. And that's only the beginning. That's only the beginning. David says, could be, maybe, but time measured in light. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can look at energy, light, heat. They're all ways of describing different aspects of energy. Kim's reminding everybody to drink water after these lives because we're basically, whether you understand what's going on or not, we're doing energy work and you want to stay hydrated. Energy moves much better and much flows much more freely and much more balanced than a hydrated body. Tracy, I feel my eyes roll around back up and down and feeling lightheaded. Cool. Cool. All right. So there it is. That's our talk on conscious matter. I honor the God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.